I had to write the music for an episode that wasn't even done yet. Gamers. It's James Landino. For over 2 decades, I am a video game composer, anime composer, YouTuber composer, and other things I do ozer. Good to see you. Welcome back. So for those of you who may or may not know, I do this full time. I've been doing this full time for over a decade. I started out when I was 11 back on rhythm game forums. Now I'm 32. I'm a greasy guy doing greasy things with my greasy hair. It's not going too well. This right here is what happens when you do 20 years of music. You do one thing your entire life as you know it. This is the result you get. I asked you guys on the internet, the social web, the social universe, what it is that I do. Because you may be wondering what I do and what kind of things I do. Some of you guys ask questions about the career stuff. Some of you ask questions about my life stuff or something in between. Let's just get right into it. From Faemata, how does one get to work on video games and anime? You don't. It's hard out here. No, but for real, this industry is really rewarding and it's always been my childhood dream. I have a more educated answer that goes into the nitty-gritties of that topic. There's a video I think I've done, point, click, editor, put it somewhere. I think the long and short of it is if you want to get in this industry, the simple answer that truthfully is true for a lot of what we do is to go make friends. Go make real friends, not like hee hee, you can get me a job friends. Because a lot of the people who I work with, I'm friends with. They're people who I've played Smash Brothers with. They're people who I played rhythm games with. They're people who I've just met in life and we just kind of clicked and hung out one time and then we kept in touch 6 years later. It's like, hey dude, I actually need a composer for a thing. So a lot of it just comes down to just meeting people. And more often than not, on top of your skill, whatever your craft is, music, art, or whatever, it also comes down to do people just like you? Because no matter how good you are, if you're hard to work with, if people just don't like you, you're not really gonna get hired. Or if you get hired, you're then gonna get fired or not hit up again. That's the secret to this industry is longevity, making friends, finding good people that you connect with. A lot of it will work itself out if you just keep going and bringing up friends with you along the way. Next question from Dog Noise. How do you get your hair to look so good? Well, that's a secret. Ever since I've moved to Japan, I actually cut my hair myself because Japanese people, they can't cut the gamer. I just use my own tools that I bought in Japan. By the way, buying professional grade barber tools is an absolute nightmare here. You need to have a license and all sorts of stuff. I cut my own hair. I don't hate it. It's kind of a pain, but at the end of the day, I get to be on brand until the day I die. Sorry, future wife. Sorry, future kids. The hair stays. From Give Me Pipiga Please. I think I nailed that. What was it like to work on Omega Strikers? A project that you did all the time for over like 2 years of time. So for those who don't know, Omega Strikers is a video game project that I worked on back in 2023 and 2024. It was out on all consoles. You can imagine Switch and PlayStation, Xbox and iPhone. It was a free to play. I say it was because the game technically has ended, but it's still available. You can go play it, go download it now. It's free. What have you got to lose? So on that project, I was the lead composer as well as the music director on that. And so it was a really amazing project. Probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite project I've ever worked on as a professional because I was given such a long leash. Like I had full trust to just create whatever music I wanted more or less. And the community seemed to really vibe with the ideas I was presenting or that I was help guiding the other composers to create. Truthfully, to me, Omega Strikers is like a love letter to myself, musically speaking, because a lot of the music I wrote when I was 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, a lot of those ideas I actually brought back in some way or another for Omega Strikers, just at a much more polished, experienced, professional quality. To me, it was not just a cool musical experience for the friends and the team I was working with. The team was amazing. Some of the most talented developers I've ever worked with. It was just really a rewarding self-fulfillment of creative expression. Truthfully, one of the best projects I've worked on, and I hope I can do more stuff with them in the future. Next question from Eric Vidor. God, I hope I say those names right. What is the tightest deadline you've ever dealt with? Definitely less than 24 hours notice is up there. I had one example on the anime series RWBY, which I was a composer and remixer for. That was back on season 1. Oh my God. I was fresh out of college. No one knew what they were doing. I certainly didn't know what I was doing. And I was entrusted to write music for an episode that was not even done animating yet. And the whole thing was coming together, like uploaded to roosterteeth.com. Rest in peace. And I had to write the music for an episode episode that wasn't even done yet. And somehow we had to cobble it all together in like 12 hours, pray that it uploads properly. It was out of control. It was a fun, wild project. I'm so blessed to be part of it. Shout out to Jeff Williams, Casey Liv Williams too. Actually, my school had trained me for, in a sense. One of the good things about Berkeley actually is they did get me in the headspace of like, hit the deadline. Doesn't matter if you submit crap, because if you don't hit the deadline, you don't have a job. You have to give them something. Shout out to Berkeley. Point to Berkeley. Put a scoreboard. Berkeley 1, James 0. Let's go. All right, next question. From Gilistine. How did you get your first opportunities for writing VGM, and is the process different for writing types of games? So in terms of first opportunities, it was actually because I was a part of fan sites. So back in the day, and still exists by the way, flashrevolution.com was where I got my start. It was a Flash-based fan-made version of Dance Dance Revolution. So the whole site was community run, community supported, and 11-year-old me was like, whoa, what is this thing called a rhythm game? I love this, cool music. You can be part of the community and be part of a video game. That was like a wild concept to me. So my first opportunities was to be part of the fandom. And that's actually some really good advice I like to give to aspiring creators. So really good advice that I would give on this is actually to join fandoms, join fan communities. Don't knock it till you try it, buddy. I know you're like, oh God, Sonic fandom? Yes, Sonic fandom too. That got me a career. That shit got me a career. Fun fact, by the way, I'm on a tangent now. My college thesis, to give me a piece of paper that says you have a degree, I submitted a music album of Sonic fan game music, and that album got me an interview at my first job at Harmonix Music Systems in Boston. So take that, hater gamers. But so anyways, to drive that point home, to get your first opportunities, you're gonna wanna go to fan sites because they're community run. It's usually, and if you're joining a community, chances are you love the thing that you're already a part of. That's a really great way to get portfolio and get opportunities your way just from a really organic, real experience. And by the way, you'll make friends along the way too. Retro P51. How do you remix music? Is there a secret sheet music website or is it done by ear? You know, I wish there was like a little secret. If it was a secret, I wouldn't tell you now, would I? There are no secrets. So back in the day, if you wanted to do remixes, yeah, a lot of it you had to do by ear. There were a few websites and there still are some websites where you can find sheet music. In fact, I actually think it's easier than ever now to find sheet music of your favorite game music. But back in the day, a lot of music that I wanted to remix didn't exist. And sometimes the sheet music for it wasn't that accurate. These days, there's so many more resources to get sheet music or MIDI. MIDI is just digital data of musical notes that would be sheet music. You can get that information in a lot of places now. And I mean, real talk, there's also some AI tools that are pretty good from what I understand too. I don't use that stuff. If you want to get good at this, for real, you should start using your ears because this is the secret, I think, to my success more than anything else. Y'all, by the way, follow me on Blue Sky. I really appreciate some blue skyness over here. From Brendan De La Hoy. What do you do when musical ideas stop flowing? I actually don't have the problem of ideas stop flowing. The problem is that I can't decide what idea I like that I think would work more. I think a lot of composers have that same issue. It's not really, I have no ideas. Like you can come up with an idea. It's really a matter of, do I like this idea? Do I vibe with this idea? And so for me, what do I do when I'm not feeling myself? The first thing I do is step away. I've learned over the years that showers actually are a great place for me to kind of reset my brain and kind of meditate on random thoughts. Sometimes I go to the park. Recently, I actually went into an art gallery and got super inspired. If there's one thing I have to say on this, especially for the professionals or aspiring professionals, is unfortunately, you can't always be inspired when you got a deadline. You gotta find ways to still hit the deadline. Even if you're not happy with the idea, put something down. Just keep pushing, just keep going forward. Even if you're not happy with those ideas, because once you walk away and come back, you might realize, oh shoot, 10% of this actually was great, or this whole idea was actually good all along. Sometimes, you know, we just get too lost in the sauce. The advice I can give in actuality is, even if your ideas are you're just not feeling them, put it down anyway. It's better to have ideas to work off of, even if they suck, because more often than not, you're gonna hear it afterwards and be like, you know what, there's something here, but I think I can make this better. If you have no ideas on paper, then you're screwed. Just keep making. From Ryu Matrix, what was the riskiest composing, producing, arranging gig that you took on? What was the result and or how did it impact you? Second part of it was, what was it like producing for Flash Revolution? How were you brought on board for that? Well, so first off, Flash Revolution was an amazing time from my childhood. I probably wrote like 25 songs from that website that are still playable to this day. And I was brought onto it because they had a whole submission process. process, right? They're on the forums. It still might even be there, actually. There's a whole submission place. So you can submit music and submit charts and be like, hello, sir, I make the song. And you're like, yes, is this song good? I don't know, is this song good? And then they hear it and they're like, yes, I think this could be good for a video game. And then they put it in the game at some point. For 13-year-old me, to hear my song in a video game was like... But to answer the first part of your question, risky is an interesting word choice here because I don't often look at things as risky. There are times when I've taken projects that I felt like had some yellow flags or red flags. And if I'm honest, the times when I sensed a red flag, I was dead on right. For example, things like on one project, which I actually can't talk about because of NDAs, there was one project that I wrote 10 minutes of music for. The person who contacted me was like, hey, we need this in like 3 days time for you to write music for this big AAA project. And I'm like, cool, okay, well, here's my rush fee. And they're like, okay, yeah, sure, great. Also sign this NDA that says you can't talk about that you worked on. I'm like, okay, whatever, sure. But I didn't think about the time because I was still pretty new to being on my own. So I wrote 10 minutes of music on a really aggressive deadline for this pretty cool opportunity. And so I finished the music, I submitted to him, and he never got back to me. And I'm like, that's weird, but okay, but I still did the work, so I want the money for the thing I did. And I'm like, hello, here's the invoice. No response. Followed up. Hello. Please pay me. No response. And I pressured and I realized this guy's not gonna pay me now, is he? So I found out years later that this individual who is an audio director will hit up several composers, make them sign an NDA so they can't talk about the work being done. And then once the deadline is passed, he picks and chooses music from different composers. That way then he has a whole surplus of music to choose from that best fits. Instead of hiring one person to properly be invested in the creative process and journey of making music for a video game, this person decides, yes, I'll get 5 composers and then pick and choose the music that I think will be closely fit to it, and I'll get them down for a really low price, because if they try to negotiate for a higher price, I'll just go to someone else and pick their song instead to fill the quota of music we need for the game. Yeah, that shit's fucked. So that answers your question, right, on risky? Yeah, in most cases, if you're sensing some spiciness, some real danger, chances are you should be mindful to that and reach out to friends about some second opinions on that one. I should do a part 2 on this boy. Comments down below. Do you want a part 2? Also, join Asahi Crew, socials everywhere. Let's go. All right, from Scotch German, what changed that allowed you or made you make the decision to move to Japan? So a lot of it is timing for one. I had been living in LA for 6 years, and real talk, not a big fan of LA. However, ironically, the last year I lived in LA was actually like, I feel like I cracked the code on how to enjoy LA, but that's not the point. I was approaching 30 and I'm like, you know what? I think it's time for a change. But I didn't really know like what to do yet, right? Because my career was going good, but I was feeling a bit stagnant, a bit lost in my personal life, professional life. A lot of the visa options that were immediately available at the time, they weren't really viable, right? So for those of you watching, if you want to go move to Japan like right now, you can get a student visa actually quite easily. Basically no strings attached, and then just go move to Japan for 6 months to a year. I think it's a 1.5 years. That's always a really easy pathway to just get in the country if you want to get out of here. For me though, the problem with that though is that I wasn't able to travel, and also student visas also require you to do a certain amount of hours at school, which just didn't work for the kind of business I need to be doing here. It wasn't until I actually found a lawyer who believed that I could get an artist visa, specifically a music artist visa, which is a kind of work visa in Japan, where instead of finding a company that can sponsor you, which is how most people get the work visa, I'm able to sponsor myself from proof that I have enough credentials in my craft and that I've made enough income in my craft to be like, yes, I am this certified professional musician and I do the thing really good. Just trust me, bro. And through 6 months of back and forth and applications and this and that, it actually worked out. Not gonna lie to you, it's pretty great here. Is it perfect? Definitely not. Maybe a video for another day, but I'm really happy here, and the work that I'm doing here has actually been awesome. I think it's just many combinations and many factors that led to this point, and I'm really grateful for the opportunities that have come, and I wish to help others along the way. From It's Creepy. Also, shout out to Creepy. Check out the Sonic Expo video. Creepy and I did a show together. Who is the most insane person you've worked with without breaking NDA? It's me. I'm the most insane person I've worked with. Look at me. You think a normal person would do this? Do you think a normal person would wear a Shadow the Hedgehog chain everywhere they go? Come on. Comment down below. Are you insane like me? Would you wear a Sonic necklace too? Okay, one more for real. From that one gamer guy 9. That gamer guy. Hey gamer. What was it like finding work before you broke into the VGM field? So I've been in the VGM field literally forever, right? To throw you a bone, I think the best way for me to answer this is what was it like finding work as I was starting out being full-time? And the answer was hell. So if I have one piece of advice at the baseline, it is survive. If you are full-time music, find any way to just lower your expenses to the barest minimums, find work, find credits, any way to show face and show the world, with reason of course, that you are doing the thing. There's this like little school of thought that if you are in an industry for like 5 years, like going at it, chances are people will see you as part of the industry in one way or another. But for me, it was pretty tough. After I got laid off from Harmonix Music Systems in 2017, I moved right to LA. And here I thought that in LA, where all my friends were and all of my connections were, I thought it would be a nice kickoff place to go full force into my full-time music career. And I saved up a lot of money. Before I got laid off from Harmonix, I was there for 4 years and I knew that day would come. I had been through 8 layoffs. But so I got hit and I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. I got a ton of savings just for this moment. I got one shot, more or less. Let's go. I get to LA. All the friends who I thought I'd hang out with ghosted me. All the connections I thought I had, nothing. It was a really, really, really difficult time to say the least, let alone other factors that I could get into another time. And so I was left to my own devices to find work. If I didn't have commissions coming in, how do you make work? Well, you write music for yourself. And I learned quickly that the best way to stay sane while you find work is royalties, which means writing music and covers that helps build your catalog, because the catalog is where you'll make your royalties. And then over time, you'll get checks every month or every quarter or whatever, and those checks get bigger and bigger and bigger as you write more music. So it was actually clutch, because if you're getting enough royalty income every month or every quarter that pays your rent, well, congrats. Now your rent is forever paid off, simply speaking, right? Now you don't have to find a job that will help pay rent because your rent's already paid for. So that's the trick. But I'll tell you though, it was a grind, and I highly recommend everyone. Hell, I almost don't recommend it unless you are fully committed to that journey. I saved up like 1.5 years of money just for myself. If I made $0, I had savings, and I was really close to joining all that saving. I didn't just like make it big from the get-go. No, I was close to failing from a financial standpoint. It was a crazy journey and I put everything on the line. I'm really blessed that at least it's worked out. All right, I have answered a plethora of questions. I'm sure I will do this again because I love to answer questions. I love to help people. I love to educate and inform people on what I do, because that's what we're all here for, right? We're here for a good time. You know what? We're here for a good time and a long time. I'm gonna call it for now. Stay tuned for the next video. I'll see you guys later. That was crazy.